What is going on here? The Gram token apparently has appreciated by almost 100,000% last week. Now this is actually a tracking error, because while the price did appreciate quite a bit recently, that's far away from 100,000%. Now Gram is simply a rebranding of the old TON token. Or let's say we're just going back to how it used to be. Because a few years ago, Telegram launched the Gram token, but then had to shut that down due to a dispute with the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC. Now, America got much more crypto friendly, and so the workaround that Telegram had to take, then rebrand everything to the TON coin, that workaround is not required anymore. That's why we are back again to Gram. Here's the news. There had been a community vote with 81% voting in favor. And here's the announcement on Twitter, or now called X.com. So here's the history. 2018, $1.7 billion got raised. It was the largest ICO in all of crypto at the time. 2 years later came the trouble that apparently Telegram sold an unregistered security. There was a settlement, there was a revival of the project, and now we are going back to Gram again. Now here is Gram's price in US dollars over time. And if we were to go back to this equilibrium, so that's the dotted price, that's the average price, there's the potential to outperform by more than 70%. Now, is this optimism or is this the realistic case? Let's have a look at the on-chain data, the data most people are not considering. Hi, my name is Gerhard. I've been in the crypto space for the last 8 years. I hit my first million 3 years ago, and I did this mainly through active altcoin trading. My track record is on the website down below. While most people have lost the majority of their capital throughout this bear market, we are at an all-time high if you include the current open positions. So that's 47% annualized over the last 2 years. That's when I started to publish my trades in real time. And every closed trade is over here. I don't know many people in the space that are willing to share their entire trade history publicly and for free. Of course, the current open trades, they're available to the premium members only. Now, the blockchain itself is still called the Open Network TON. The thing that has changed is just the branding of the token. That's now the Gram token. Now, very often people talking about cryptocurrency tend to do this in a positive light. I don't care about the price, it's all just about the technology. But really, the technology is not what excites most investors. What really excites investors is just the Telegram network itself. As in, if Telegram gets used for more cryptocurrency transactions, then TON can benefit from that. That's the idea. A network that's already very large, that can push adoption much quicker than if that was to be built from the ground up. The idea is that that adoption will shrink the supply of Gram, because half of transaction fees are getting burned. The other half goes to the validators. Some are calling for the super cycle in Gram, but the integration with Telegram has been running already before the rebrand. Yet the TON coin at that time did not necessarily outperform the rest of crypto. By the way, if you are on X.com, formerly known as Twitter, then feel free to also check out the account of this channel. I publish data regularly over here. Make sure though that you follow the right account. So that's @BitcoinStrat. That's the only real account. Make sure that you don't follow any other account. Now, when we look at this US dollar chart, it's very hard to pinpoint. Why, for example, did we turn around in June of 2024? But once we look at Gram relative to the rest of the altcoin market, now that turnaround makes way more sense, right? We're just aligning with the top of the end of 2022. I like to look at those relative valuation charts because they give us very often clear picture how money is flowing within crypto. There are two major forces for price developments in crypto. There is the macro, there is Bitcoin going up and down and thus pushing prices up and down with it for all the other altcoins. But then there's also the second effect, and that's the capital rotation within the crypto space. So once we take away the macro, once we divide, say, the crypto price by the general altcoin market cap, then we see how does the cryptocurrency outperform or underperform, and where is it comparatively cheap versus expensive. And so we see this twice with the Gram token. We see how it has topped at the exact same level where it topped before. We can also see how it bottomed at very similar levels to where it bottomed before. This is a chart pattern we see regularly in crypto. It's a long-term trading range, and people simply see an asset as cheap when it historically trades at similar price levels to where it already used to turn around in the past. From the bottom to the top, that's an outperformance of Graham of 400%. Or the other way around, we of course lose then 80%. If we take the dotted line here as the potential equilibrium, we have a realistic outperformance of 55% from here. Now this is assuming that long-term Toncoin will just perform as an average altcoin. The question is, will that be the case? Because there's also tokenomics. There is an expanding token supply. And for Toncoin, unfortunately, that does not look great. If there won't be a huge wave of adoption and lots of Graham tokens get burned, then the circulating supply will grow by 57% in the next 12 months. It will go from 2.7 billion to 4.3 billion. And that's a problem when the total value locked, so the capital that's on the Ton chain, tends to rather shrink or at least go sideways. It's not growing by more than 50% right now. Here's the TVL measured in Graham tokens directly. So this is not just the Graham price going down. This is in general decentralized finance on the Ton blockchain not really growing. So there's a lot of potential. The whole Telegram network is behind this, and Telegram is a very popular application within the crypto space. But so far, that integration has not led to significant usage and to significant token burns. Here's the number of stable coins on the Ton blockchain, also rather on a consistent level, not really straight growth. And so especially with tokens like this, it's important to time the market, to not just buy and hold, but to rather figure out at what point in time are we cheap versus when are we potentially expensive. Now, I like to use backtests. I like to use simulations of buying and selling the asset. With those simulations, we can then find out what kind of trading rule historically worked well for the Graham token. So we look for golden and death crosses. When do two moving averages cross and give us the best returns? And so let's do that analysis for Graham as well. This here is Bitcoin Strategy Analytics. It's the backtesting platform available to the premium members. We are looking at Toncoin versus Bitcoin. So that's Graham versus Bitcoin, same concept. And the best moving average combination is over here. It's rather short, as in the 3-day versus the 8-day simple moving average. Instead of 18% that we got with buying and holding, that makes 135% per annum. At a maximum drawdown, that's slightly less compared to buying and holding Graham. And this is then how that performance looks like over time. So we've got the Ton price at the top, and we've got the strategy equity here as this line in blue, a quite consistent outperformer. And so here's what that means for today. Once we have a rally and then we get the death cross, the momentum in the asset fades. Currently, there's no clear trend. And so we are going above and below. Currently, we are rather bearish. We had a death cross, but this can change tomorrow. In general, I like to use those approaches the most after we had a breakout. As in, if we shot up in the price or if we are currently declining very consistently, then we want to just follow the trend. So in this case, a short would have been very nice. After a rally, it also makes sense to potentially short that rally. So have a look at this, right? We are going up and up and up. We do have our failed signals. So here is one, but then we've got another signal over here that had been quite profitable. And again, the reason why we backtest is to find out what historically worked the best for Graham. And in this case, it's a very short-term 3 versus 8-day simple moving average. It gives us an idea how to potentially time entries and exits. For the general direction though, the relative valuation versus the rest of the altcoin market, I believe, is most useful. And so this is in general how I set up most of my trades. That's why we have been successful over the last 2 years, while most others lost money throughout the entire history. I've also once traded Toncoin. So that was a short on the 13th of May that then was closed roughly a week afterwards for 7% gain. And so all the trades, they are announced on Telegram. They can also be sent via email. This was after the rally. We got our death cross and then subsequently the golden cross. That's when we close the position. So those back tests really help to determine the current momentum and to determine entries and exits. And again, not every single trade is profitable, but on average, it's 4.9% per trade over a sample size of 183 trades with an average holding duration of of 26 days. Now, I cannot share all the open trades right now for free on YouTube. However, there is now this page over here that explains the strategy in more detail. You can get one free premium trade that I currently hold, that the premium members hold. There's no payment requirement. There's no credit card requirement. The trade will be sent to your email, and you will also get a premium tutorial video that explains how to set up everything. So the link to that free premium trade is down below in the pinned comments. Once you make your first money with it, then of course you can decide whether or not you want to reinvest that in the actual membership and then get more of those trades. If it's your first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish videos regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you next time. Cheers.